Hello there, welcome to my views. It seems, viewers, that Ethiopian PM Abiy has decided to up the ante against Eritrean government, against those countries which are in control of Red Sea coast, especially Eritrea, Somalia, and Djibouti. No respite, no de-escalation, uh, a well articulated, well thought out policy of Ethiopian government to sustain pressure, to continue pressure on the neighboring countries, especially Eritrea. Developments of the last 3 to 4 days are an indication that PM Abiy's government is working on an agenda which it has formed after discussions. Before having a look at the approach adopted by Ethiopian PM Abiy recently, I want to share one point with you. Ahmed Shide is Ethiopian Minister of Finance, and since last year he has been trying to get approval of loans. He has visited China, he visited the US, he visited EU countries. Several rounds of talks were held between Ethiopian government officials and IMF officials, World Bank too. No big bailout package for Ethiopia so far. Some grants have been announced by World Bank, some by countries. No big relief for Ethiopian economy. Ethiopian economy is in need of injection in the form of bailout package. Ahmed Shide has convinced Ethiopian PM that whether Ethiopian government gets loans from abroad or not, economy cannot flourish because Ethiopia is paying huge port fees to Djibouti. So in the long run, there is no future for economic prosperity in Ethiopia if Ethiopia keeps on paying to Djibouti. Ahmed Shide very skillfully convinced Ethiopian PM Abiy that the ongoing economic crisis is because of having no port. PM Abiy bought this position taken by Ahmed Shide. If Ethiopian government could not secure loans from IMF, World Bank, it means that it's a failure of Minister of Finance, Minister of Economy's team. He could not negotiate on terms. Maybe US West want more. Whatever the reason is, but instead of acknowledging the shortcomings, deficiencies, the issues of capability of finance ministry, finance ministry has diverted Ethiopian PM Abiy towards Red Sea port. And PM Abiy is now convinced that for lasting economic progress, Ethiopia needs access to port. Ethiopia already has access to port, but it has to pay for the services of the port. It wants free access. Free access to port in Djibouti, Somaliland, Eritrea. Main target is Eritrea. So we must be clear about this point. Secondly, PM Abiy is not withdrawing from what he said a few days. Though we have seen very strong regional reaction, statements, official statements from Eritrea, from Somalia. Eritrean Information Ministry spoke. Somalia's Minister of Foreign Affairs spoke. Djibouti Minister of Economy spoke. Official statements criticizing Ethiopian PM Abiy's position. PM Abiy is not withdrawing. Rather, he has decided to up the ante on the issue of access to the Red Sea. Almost on daily basis, we are seeing reports, documentaries, videos on state-backed television channels articles written on state-owned sites and pages, websites about the Red Sea, that Ethiopia needs access to the Red Sea. And one of these documentaries on a national television channel started with a text, "Who owns a support?" So Ethiopia is making the ownership of a support controversial. Eritrea is not the legitimate owner of a support. State media is continuing the position, the barrage of criticism against neighboring countries, especially Eritrea. Without naming Eritrea, Eritrea is being criticized. On the other hand, we're seeing that Eritrean activists, journalists, government-backed news outlets, they are now lashing out at Ethiopian PM Abiy. They're not saying Ethiopian government, they're saying Ethiopian PM Abiy. So no one should be surprised if we see movement back by Eritrea for a regime change in Ethiopia. Target for Eritrea now is Ethiopian PM Abiy. And now these news outlets are sharing some incidents of the past that PM Abiy begged Isaias Afwerki to support him when Tigray forces entered Amhara region in 2021 and they marched towards Oromia Special Zone, North Zone. Before that, PM Abiy betrayed Eritrea and he decided to unilaterally withdraw from Tigray. He suffered, but then Eritrea rescued him. So all types of accusations against Ethiopian PM, not against Ethiopian government, against Ethiopian military, against Ethiopian PM. So on Ethiopian side, we're seeing the propaganda ongoing. On Eritrean side, propaganda against Ethiopian PM. Not just the state television channels doing the propaganda, but Ethiopian ministers speaking too. We heard from Eritrean ambassador Estefanos twice in the last few days. People say, don't quote him. He's not relevant. If an ambassador is not relevant, then who is relevant? Minister of Irrigation, Ethiopian, Birhanu M. Lengiso spoke yesterday. He referred to Article 3 and 5 of UN Convention of Law of the Sea about right of access to the sea for landlocked countries. He tried to prove that Ethiopia has right to gain access to the sea. And when he tweeted, we saw Eritrean activists go after him, criticizing him. So there is a social media war, digital war ongoing between pro-Ethiopian government and pro-Eritrean government elements in social media. State ministers, state news outlets, state websites, all are speaking about access to the Red Sea. And PM Abiy is trying to involve international community as well. He's not in a position to involve regional neighbors. He is in a weak position regionally. I analyzed his position a few days ago that all his neighbors maybe are not on good terms with him. Somalia playing second fiddle to Eritrea. Eritrea obviously not on good terms, very concerned about Ethiopian PM Abiy's new position about access to the Red Sea. Sudan's Burhan, hand in glove with Isaias Afwerki. Kenya, Ruto, Isaias Afwerki is one of the greatest African revolutionaries. And PM Abiy is not happy with some initiatives taken by Ruto. Green Legacy initiative taken by Ruto a few days ago. So he's not happy about Ruto's regional ambitions. Ruto close to Isaias Afwerki. So in the region, Ethiopia isolated. Internationally, Ethiopia trying to get support, but West US already against Eritrea. So if Western countries, US, they announced to support Ethiopian PM Abiy against Eritrea, it would be surprising, but I don't think they would support Ethiopia on the issue of access to the Red Sea, because Assab is internationally recognized part of Eritrea. But PM Abiy, I said a few days ago, if you remember, that no one should be surprised if Ethiopian PM Abiy backs Tigray's claim to Bore, Tigray claim to Badme, not Bore. Bore is on a far border. Badme, Zalambasa, etc. Same could happen, and same is happening reportedly. Now, Ethiopian government is going to back Tigray's position that Tigray's territories, Ethiopian territories, are in occupation. They are under occupation by Eritrean military. Eritrean military not withdrawing from Ethiopian territories to get the support of international community against Eritrea. Now, this narrative is being launched in diplomatic circles. What will be the result of this narrative? Western countries, US already supporting Ethiopian government in terms of reconstruction of Tigray, in terms of territorial implementation, though their support is not as much as Ethiopia wants. As I said earlier, no bailout package for Ethiopia. PM Abiy seems to be preparing the ground for building an international narrative that Ethiopia is right when it says that it should have access to the sea. This right is being denied to Ethiopia. Will it succeed? Very difficult. Regionally isolated, internationally it is difficult for Ethiopian PM to get recognition from the West, from the US, about this Ethiopian new position. That is why we are seeing continued tensions between Ethiopia and neighboring countries. How long will it go on? Will the PM change his approach and do something different? Otherwise, he has done a lot of things in the past few months. Offer dialogue to Eritrea, did not work. Offered territories in return, did not work. Offered shares in GERD, Ethiotelecom, did not work. He has tried a lot, now frustrated. He was hoping that Eritrea would respond. Eritrea did not respond. Frustrated, he has brought the issue into public domain. By the way, on the ground, we're not seeing complete cutoff of diplomatic ties between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Still, Ethiopian Airlines is operating from Addis Ababa to Asmara, Asmara to Addis. Ethiopian embassy in Asmara, Eritrean embassy in Addis Ababa, open, working. So, I think Prime Minister of Ethiopia's policy is a very calculated policy. He'll heighten the temperature to a specific degree. What will happen after that? Will he push the country towards a new war, or does he something else, some other tricks up his sleeves? That we'll see. So far, this is what is happening between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Thanks for watching.